This podcast, The Good, The Bad and The Vagina, is brought to you by me, Tess Lovely, a retired midwife, birth keeper, mother and sovereign woman. The views shared are my own and those of my guests. If something doesn't resonate, release it. It's not meant to upset or offend. If you feel discomfort, please seek support for your own healing. If you don't like what you hear, don't listen. This space honours truth, freedom and expression, protected under the rights to free speech. Welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Vagina. Let's get started. Hello Yvette and welcome to The Good, The Bad and The Vagina.
I'm very excited to join you today.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. Now, we don't really know each other. We know each other via the group When Push Comes to Shove.
Yes.
So this is like a discovery call for both of us, which is making it really exciting for me. I'm really happy to be in this place because I want the listeners to know, if you're a mum and you've had a baby and you want to come and share your story and you haven't met me, it's okay to come on and do this.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on and doing this and unfolding this journey with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted to be here and so happy to share and talk all things birth. Very exciting as always.
It is brilliant, isn't it? Birth, you can't beat it. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us all about your own births and your business, because your company is called
Birthing with Love.
Birthing with Love, which I think goes really, really beautifully with birthing from within.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's the same thing, really, isn't it?
It is the same thing. And I think if women could just remember that, and I think that's a lot of our jobs, isn't it? To remind women about that, and then they can find the power within themselves and birth with love, birth from within, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. So very much the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am a hypnobirthing teacher. I'd say that's like my main thing, and a birth doula. They're my two main things that I do the most of. I've been an antenatal teacher. I trained with NCT, University of Worcester, taught my first course, I think, back in 2015. So I've been in the educational world for some time now and absolutely love that. And then later, not too much later, I then trained as a hypnobirthing practitioner because I hypnobirthed all of my babies. And it was my first baby, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about at some point, or we'll get there. That's the baby that made me do what I do. And I think that's often the case for a lot of us, isn't it, in the birth world? If we've had a baby, it's usually our own birth that has propelled us into this direction. So then I became a hypnobirthing teacher, and I absolutely adore doing that. And I teach people privately. And then I went on to become a birth doula, trained with When Push Comes to Shove, which is the organisation that I met you through, run by the amazing Nikita Stark. And absolutely love it. Beautiful community of doulas. I also do some postnatal doulaing and general antenatal education as well. And I don't really teach NCT courses so much anymore. I still have a license to teach, but I'm sort of not doing so much of that anymore. I think I'm doing more of my own business.
It's quite comprehensive, and it is a really extensive career that you've had in and around the birthing arena. So that's really puts you in good stead to be supporting and helping women on their journeys.
Yeah.
So you said, and I thought that was a brilliant thing to say, about when women have a baby, that usually trajectories them into a pathway of doing something in this arena, because that certainly was the case for me. I don't know if you know, my backdrop story was a bit like that. I had ovarian cancer when I was pregnant with my second baby, and I didn't want to have chemotherapy because my mum was having chemotherapy, and I could see what it was happening to her. But the only person who supported and believed me was my midwife, which is why I then went on to be a midwife. So a bit like you, doing what you were doing, you had hypnobirthing, and that made you go, I want to be able to do this for women.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it was very much like that. I thought, well, if I can do this, then other women need to know about this, probably much like yourself. Like, you know, if you can hold someone's space so beautifully on such a transformative journey, There's nothing else like it, is there? And then you want to share that. You want that to like ripple out and everyone to have a piece of that, because we all deserve it. But sadly, the way the world works at the moment, or the current maternity system, doesn't really allow for that, I believe. You know, there are gems there doing that, but you know, the whole system itself is, it's a challenge, isn't it? So there's people like us.
So interesting that you said that you qualified as an NCT teacher in 2015. So that's obviously like 11 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, I'm just more curious about this, have you noticed a change or a big significant difference in women's abilities to give birth, or the control, where the onus of control is laying for women on the birthing journey?
Yes, I have. And because you've asked me that question, I bet you have as well. Yeah, I absolutely have. I think when I started teaching, and I think NCT is a fantastic sort of benchmark to show us where we're at as a collective, I think, because it is the sort of the antenatal course. It's probably changing now, but certainly was back then the antenatal course for the masses. Like everyone, you know, if you could, you would do an NCT course, maybe. Bit of a rite of passage. Lots of, you know, mums had done it, you know, expectant mums had done it, and they said, oh, go and do this course, it's really good. So it sort of had that sort of effect. And yeah, certainly when I started, there were more, I don't know, home birth, for example, it's, you know, the stats for home birth have always been quite low, sadly, but there was more openness, I think, towards that. It wasn't so much of like, oh my gosh, no. Not that I'm saying many more did, but certainly there was more of a curiosity about how to give birth naturally, which is silly that I'm even talking about it, because it's what we're designed to do. So, but I think women sort of knew that. It was just part of it. So there was very much an openness towards that. I felt as the years have gone by, and obviously I'm not tarnishing everyone with the same brush, because you can't do that. I have felt that generally the vibe within classes is, how do we not do that bit? So what can we do to not have to do that? You know, let's talk epidurals. Like before it was like, I don't know if I want an epidural. I know some people need one, or I don't want a cesarean. I know that's like an emergency. Now it's become very much part of the way people give birth. And I feel that when people come to the classes, they're looking to hand over their births a little bit more. I don't want to say that because it sounds horrible, and I'm not judging anyone. It's just the culture. It's just where we're at, basically.
I think when the NHS was introduced, it kind of sold women down the river a little bit in terms of their empowerment in the birthing arena. And when I look historically about what sort of happened, so they moved birth from the home to the hospital, that absolutely eroded women. And they sold that on the basis of come in and you can have a 10-day stay. And if you've got 5 kids at home, you're going to want to go in for 10 days, aren't you?
Yeah.
And they were kind of looked after and handmaidened. And then I think when the women started then realising that maybe the constraints of birth were, they were being told to sit on the bed and doing things that they didn't want to do, men got thrusted in the birthing arena, because men would say to women, do what the doctor says.
So true.
So then we had this sort of 20 years or so where women again conformed and became compliant. And then I think in the 90s, women started and men started going, this doesn't feel right. I think men were getting quite traumatized about what was happening and getting a bit more switched on. And what's happened then is a whole realm of female obstetricians have been thrusted into this birth arena. And when you've got a woman in between your legs telling you to do something, you think she's got your best interests at heart, so you're more likely to comply. And that's kind of gone on for a couple of years. And then in 2016, the Saving Babies' Lives bundle came in. And I think that was where they then moved the next leverage of compliance onto the baby. Your baby, everything was centred around the baby. Birth, all of it is now around the health and well-being of the baby. And I think that's where we're at today, where it's a section rate of 50% and forceps. It's a bit of a shit show, really, isn't it?
It is, and it's a lot of unpacking to do, isn't it? When you're supporting people antenatally, to sort of, it's not their fault that they think the way they do. It's the way that the system is geared and the way that we are pushed in that direction to lose trust in our ability to birth. And the how do you put it? Like the more women who go down a different, more sort of medicalized birth experience, the less of the ones that don't have it. And then that's going to be the main narrative. And I think that's where we're at, isn't it? But, you know, also, just to put a good spin on things, I do think that pregnancy is so transformative. I definitely changed a lot of my outlook during pregnancy. When I first became pregnant with my first baby, I started to question what I was putting into my body, started to question what I was doing. And I think it is this transformative sort of rite of passage where you start thinking differently because you're having to nurture and grow a new human. You're human, you know? And I wonder if that sometimes just sparks those few little, like, is this the only way to do it? You know, and I guess they're the people that I'm seeing. The people that want something a bit different, or they don't want to do that mainstream thing, they come my way. And it's a joy because you can see those transformations unfold, and that feels amazing for me and obviously for the people that come our way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a place for this, but yeah, we've got to shout a bit louder, I think, don't we? To get, you know, people don't know. Like, oh my God, how many people don't know what a doula is? Have you seen that?
Well, it's a funny old thing, isn't it? Because the word, a lot of people, I think more people understand or know what a doula is. And I think a lot more women are recognising the value of having a doula. It's a real shame that women are, in order to increase their chances of getting the birth that they want and getting the support that they need and all that loving, nurturing stuff, that they have to go and outsource it now because they're entering into this birthing arena with this free service, expecting that service that they're getting from doulas to be presented to them in the maternity package, and it isn't there. And it's so sad because there's so many people that if they could just find the money instead of spending £1,000 on a pram system, think, do you know what, £1,000 would be better spent on a doula because it's because of the whole physiology that's involved in the well-being and the health of your baby.
Oh, yes, that I've been in the NCT world because I'm seeing the masses, not just the people who already know coming my way. So when I taught those classes and I said, does anyone know what a doula is? And pretty much no one did. No one really knew what hypnobirthing was. An odd person now that's starting to become in like a bit more mainstream now due to social media. But I think even those that do know what a doula is and do sort of see the potential value in having that extra person to support them, they go, but I've got my birth partner. So what do I need another person in my space? And then the birth partner's like, oh, I don't know if I want an extra person in the space because then that's taking away from me. So I think a lot of people, when they're going through their pregnancy journey, especially, you know, first timers we're talking about, because I think lots of people who have done it already, then they just know straight away, my birth partner can't do it all. They can't be my advocate. They can't be my lover. They can't protect my space. They can't fetch the drinks, take me to the toilet, bring the blanket, go and grab something, go and make something to eat, all of that, and be with me all the time if I need them there. Like, that's a lot.
They also need help and support, don't they? I recently was at a free birth. The woman wanted to have a midwife there, but they declined to send anybody, and so the decision was then that she would be comfortable and happy free birthing with me. And they had done an awful lot of work. I think they'd gone to the NCT. They'd done other bits and pieces, lots of reading, and obviously invested in me as well. And I went through lots and lots for them. And afterwards, when we were kind of talking about it, he was brilliant. He was amazing in the birth, and she smashed it out of the park. And they both said, we can't believe how invaluable you were in that birthing arena. Like, if we could have paid you double, you were worth every penny. But he also said all the reading and research, he still didn't really get how much it would impact on him seeing his wife in that. He said she bared down a couple of times towards the end of her birth. But for him, he said that felt like hours.
Yeah.
And he said he kept looking at me and seeing how calm I was,
Yes.
and how in the place, in the space I was. And then he said he was getting his reassurance out of me, knowing that I had amples of experience in this journey and that he basically hand his trust over to me. And I think that's the difficulty. You've got somebody supporting you, if it's your birth partner, who's never experienced that before. So they don't know what to expect.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And I've heard that so many times. And again, it's the birth partner that's gone, oh my gosh, like what, there's no way I could have done that without you being there or felt calm. I was at unexpected free birth as well a few births ago. And again, the partner just kept looking, and you could just see they look at you to see that you're calm. And then they go, oh, okay, this is fine. Or like, you just give them like, this is good, they're fine. And they're like, okay. But, if you don't have that extra person there, and I'd imagine, again, for you, Tess, because you were a midwife, so you're in a different role as a midwife as well, because that's a clinical role, although you are nurturing and doing all of that. But again, here in this space, you can be more, I think, maybe. And also, the people. So you've got their backs in the sense that you've got that's that continuity of care. So, it's a real team effort, isn't it?
Yeah, I think my experience, my eons of experience when I started my career, that's what it was like. I
Yeah.
literally was just with women. The notes I never did notes. We just did things at the end, and it was literally similar to what I'm doing now, but with all the legal responsibility, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. A bit heavier on
Um,
the shoulders, but yeah.
yeah. So in that sense, I'm still standing in I trust birth that much and always have done. I think as women, as humans, as nature, we are amazing. We tend to falter when we hand our stuff over or doubt ourselves. I'm very much into the power of the mind and healing within themselves. If a woman will ring me and she'll ask me questions, then I'll go, so tell me what you're feeling or thinking in and around that then. What would you want, what would you give yourself as an answer? And they always come up with the answer, always. And then I go, well, that's what I was going to say. So you did amazing. And then that just empowers them then to parent in a really brilliant way because they start trusting themselves. I think the medical model has eroded women's confidence in their own abilities to love and nurture themselves and their baby well. They think it's the outside that makes it all safe. When I used to book women on their booking appointment, I always used to say to them, look, I'm not here to keep your pregnancy safe. That's your job. And you do that by what you eat, how you look after yourself, your emotional state, what people you put in, what safety network you put in and around you. My job is to monitor and to spot things if they move away from the normal, if there's any concerns, but also keep empowering you to keep looking and building on what you're already learning. Some women would get it. Some women would be like looking at me as if to say, but you're the midwife.
It's because we've just lost ourselves completely. Like it's not just the birth world. I think that sort of brings it all to a crux, to like it shows you, doesn't it? It shows you where you're at and how much you've handed yourself and your power away, or how much you don't believe in yourself. And I think I would imagine for the majority of doulaing, and when I teach people hypnobirthing as well, I think sometimes I just turn up to, because I do private one-to-ones, I just ditch my syllabus or what I'm planning to do with them, and we just sit and talk and unpacking. There's so much value in unpacking all of the stuff that's coming up, and also to help women become present. Like we're human beings, not human doings. And I think we've definitely fallen into the category of doing everything, and therefore something has to be done to us, or we have to do something in order to achieve something. But I think we've forgotten just to be. And the more we can be, the more we can hear ourselves. We can hear that inner voice, and we can trust ourselves, and we know. And it's really impossible to ask a woman to know themselves, especially during something as like delicate and powerful as birth, in that moment, to know what they need to do if they've never done that before, or if they've never practiced it before. So I think a lot of that work can be done ideally before pregnancy. That's the ideal, isn't it? Like, let's get the work done before. But during pregnancy, I think we can offer so much value in just helping a woman get to know themselves, and the rest unfolds beautifully.
When women become pregnant, they kind of go into a bubble and their spider senses come out, I think, and they do absorb anything related to babies and pregnancy, like astronomically. And that in point goes when the little drops of fear come in then, because a little teaspoon of fear, I keep calling it, that's what happens when you go along into the medical model. They keep feeding you teaspoons of fear.
Yeah.
But of course, that teaspoon of fear might only be something that rolls off the tongue to the health professional, but for that woman, it lands viscerally all over them and they really feel it. And it's interesting when you listen to women when they come away from seeing an obstetrician, the snippets of things that they take away that have landed really heavily on them, isn't it?
And they remember it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, again, I'd imagine you've had this as well, when you're in the presence of those little teaspoons, or whatever you're calling it, those little droplets of negativity. That's just, it could literally, as you say, just the way someone has phrased something in that moment, or the tone of their voice. I think healthcare professionals, I don't know what, obviously you did your training many, many, many years ago, not to add loads of years onto you, by the way, Tess, sorry, just many years ago.
Right.
Because of that, I think it's slightly different. I wonder how much sort of bedside manner teaching people get within the medical model now as nurses, midwives, all of that, because you don't see a lot of it. And sometimes you think, oh my gosh, like, how can you not even consider the fact that this is a terrible thing to be saying to a woman right now? They don't know they're doing it. They just, like you say, it just rolls off the tongue. Da, 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 da. Walk out the room, go and see the next woman. It's like, what have you just done?
It's very ego-based. So they're all walking
Yeah.
in with their ego, like, I have an awful lot more knowledge about your body than you do. I mean, you live with your body 24/7, but I know more about your body. And that
Yes.
actually, when I was 15, I thought I knew everything. And then I got to 25 and I thought, God, I didn't know anything at 15. I know everything now. And when I got to 35, I was like, this is looking a little bit like, I always think I know everything, but actually the older I get, the more I have learned, but the less I know. And then when I hit my 40s, I thought, I know fuck all. I know the tiniest tip of the information in the universe. And I think that that's where that innate feeling comes from, because when you've got that innate knowing, it's like an ancestral knowledge that you're carrying into that birthing arena. It's not your knowledge, your own knowing and knowledge, is it? It's this like ancestral information that's blueprinted within you, that your body then goes into its own rhythm of birth.
So true. It's so true. And I think, again, it's like I always say, like, we got to get mums out of their heads, don't we? Just like get out of your head. When a mum's in her head, the birth isn't going to go well,
Yeah.
potentially. And you can see it. You can see very, very clearly. And, obviously, that's why I love what I do. I think one of the first things I do when I enter the birth space, when I've been called out, obviously, there's like conversations beforehand, like messages going backwards and forwards as to when to come. And when you come, you just like sit, watch, observe, and then you see, is mum in her head or is she in her body? And when she comes out of her head, like into her head and out of her body at any point, is to bring her back in and like keep bringing her back into her body, and then it flows. But some mums can't get out of their heads. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I certainly have. And it's
Well, they want to know times, processes, where they're at. I mean, I quite like the idea when they kind of get to the end of their labour and they ask, really, like they do come out briefly in that transition, they land and then they go back again. And they ask, I don't know, for pain relief, how far dilated they are. They start doubting themselves. And I generally go, right, I want you just to take a big breath and breathe. The only thing you need to do is breathe. No thinking. And then they go back into that space again. And that's why sometimes too much information can be hard work rather than making it easier, because they're thinking too much about what's the next stage, what's the next stage, what's the next stage.
Yeah, it's like I don't even, when I teach my hypnobirthing classes, when I teach NCT, again, it's people expect it and want to know it. So you go through the stages of labour, but I always go, but these are the stages of labour in a textbook. Now let's like put that to the side, because you don't even need to be aware of that. And certainly when I teach my hypnobirthing classes, again, I just sort of like really just very briefly, blah, 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 just in case it's brought up, they understand what that means. But I always say, like, just ditch it. You're going to flow with your body and it doesn't matter. And your journey could be like this. It could be like all over the place. It doesn't matter where you're at on that journey. You just got to trust that it's moving in the right direction. And I think, again, if you have, like you say, too much knowledge, and I think maybe, you know, again, like midwives and medical professionals sometimes struggle as well in this space, don't they? Because they have all that knowledge and they've seen it go this way and this way. And then when they're doing it, like sometimes they can get into their heads quite heavily as well. So again, it's like just remembering that everyone's journey is so unique and individual. It really doesn't matter what the textbook says. Well, it never goes according to the textbook anyway, but it's just such a personal journey. And I always say, again, I say you can have 10 babies and 10 different birth experiences. So
Yeah.
it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant what your mate down the road did last week. It's really irrelevant. It's not your journey. Your journey is different. Your baby knows how they want to be born. Your body knows what it needs to do, and you're just going to work together, and you can't plan it. You know, you can stack the odds in your favor, I say. Stack the odds in your favor. Know enough, feel enough, do enough of the work, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual prep in advance. Set yourself in good stead for that birth. But then once you've done that, surrender to it.
And I think that's the key, isn't it? Just letting go. My friend of mine who'd done lots of NCT and things, and I was a labour coordinator at the time, and she rang me early in a labour saying, "Are you working tonight?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, I'm in early labour." And I said, "Well, I don't want to see you until you swear." That was like, it was really funny. Got a message in the, like 3 a.m. or something from the receptionist, said, one of your friends is standing at reception. So I went down and we had like this like glass thing. I slid the glass back and she went, "Fucking hurts." So, "You can come in." She had a baby about an hour and a half later.
Love it.
And it was really funny because and the only reason I set that parameter for her is because she's not a swearer. So I thought if she really gets to that point where she absolutely is,
Yeah.
it was really funny. She had a beautiful birth, actually. It was quite, well, she's had 2 beautiful births that I've been fortunate to be present with. So that was lovely.
Oh, that is magical.
Yeah. I've helped, actually, my granddaughter's being born as well.
Oh,
So, which was just an absolute honour, really, because
wow.
the medical model, the institution, would have tried to restrict all of that. But fortunately, it's just always worked out really well for me. Like whether they've been at home or whether they've been in hospital, I've had the right team around me that's kind of said, "Yeah, you do, you do," you
Oh,
know.
amazing. What a gift.
Yeah,
And an
yeah,
honour, an absolute honour.
yeah,
And that's the way
yeah.
it should be. And I think that's what's happened, isn't it? We've moved birth out of community. So it's like this isolated unknown. And what are we all afraid of? Like fear is the fear of the unknown, isn't it? Most of it. So when we don't know what's going to happen, especially first time mums, there's this big like question mark around it. Like, oh my gosh, is this safe? Is it not safe? And then if all the messaging is very risky, risk, 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 even if you're low risk, the word risk is in it all the time, you know, low risk, low risk. Oh my
It's that
God.
teaspoon.
Yeah, exactly. And so because we haven't seen, you know, and I talk about the history of birth as well when I do my antenatal teaching, and I say that, you know, back then we would have seen our sisters, our cousins, our aunties, our mothers giving birth. We would have been part of it. We would have been in that space. We would have felt it. We would have seen pregnancy progress. So it's not the unknown anymore. And so we're not fearing it. We weren't fearing it. Now, like we've taken the 2 definites, the 2 guaranteed things, parts of life are birth and death. And we've removed both of those from community. Like, how crazy? How crazy is that? And we fear, what are the 2 things we fear? Birth and death.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept about, because that's a medical introduction. That's how they moved women initially from the home to the hospital, was using that. Well, it's your first baby and we don't know how well that's going to go. Where historically, it didn't matter whether it was your first or your 10th baby, you recognised and honour that birth and death were first cousins. And out of the respect of that, you surrendered into both. You weren't fearful of the journey that you were on because you had utter respect for it.
Mm.
And that's gone. And we still the tail end lingering of, is it your first baby, is still there at the forefront. And it actually, first time mums are well equipped to have a baby. It's a bit of a longer journey because their body's never done it before. But that doesn't mean to say that there's anything amiss with that.
We wouldn't have got to where we are right now in humanity if there was a problem with it. So yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just about like the trust, the utter trust that a woman needs to have, to be fair. She does need to have that in order to be able to surrender in that moment. And then birth will unfold more quickly. But often it's that holding on, that because we're so scared of that next bit, or we don't know what our body's doing, we're unsure. And I think it just, that drip feeding starts from the minute you go in for that booking appointment. That, you know, that in itself, all of those medical questions that you get asked during your your booking appointment, you've just straight away, that's it, birth is medical.
I'd have whole conversations around them, and if they've got anything medical, empower them and educate them enough to share and impart that information. Let's not extract it from them. So I would say, have you got any medical conditions that you think I need to be aware of? That would be it. Because they'll tell you everything. Oh, I was born with an extra digit, or this, or that, or that. You know, people that are quite open and willing to share.
I wish I had you. God. As soon as I went in for all of those booking appointments, 3 of them, yeah, I just, from the first one, I just felt like, oh my God, I was scared, you know, because I'd never actually, when I had my first baby, that was the first time I ever went to hospital. I'd never actually been in hospital apart from when I was born. So the whole thing about going to hospital scared me anyway. So then sitting there and having to answer questions, it's like, oh my God, how much alcohol you drank. Then you start thinking about all those parties you went to, and oh my God, what have I done? What have I done to my baby? Like, you know, was I drinking before like I knew I was pregnant? And you're like, oh my gosh, I promise I don't now. Like, how silly is that? Like, you know, you're already putting that into, God, I don't know. That's me anyway. But
well, yeah. I think that's all part of the disempowerment, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's all part of the dissection of you as a human and about your behaviours that we're judging, and the power then lies with us. And sometimes they ask you questions which are totally irrelevant and never actually explain why they're asking that question. And then you're left thinking, well, why did they ask me that? Like, why did they ask me if there's any history of preeclampsia in your family? They'll ask you that question. Now, there's a bit of a familiar link, but actually most of preeclampsia we know is diet-based, because we're eating fucking shit diets. And actually, if you eat a clean diet and then don't eat processed foods and cut out all your crisps and your sugars and your carbs and all of that sort of stuff, then you're less likely to get those sorts of things. But they don't explain any of that to you. So you'll then say, you know, women will go, yeah, well, my mum had preeclampsia. But then we don't say, okay, has your mum got a raised BMI? Because we're not investigating whether or not, have you been raised on quite a poor diet? Is that the reason why your mum maybe potentially had preeclampsia or diabetes? And even like the blood glucose thing, like they do that blood, I can't think of anything worse than absolutely subjecting your baby to complete starvation and then an influx of sugar that's not going to send it stir crazy. And would it not be better if we just gave people a little blood sugar glucose monitor and said, monitor your blood sugars and write them down over the next week, and then we'll assess your blood sugars and see how stable they are. Surely that would be a better thing than pushing your baby through its parameters of coping with glucose.
And your body, and, you know, it's absolutely crazy. I don't like to divulge my own thing. I don't want to influence other people by my own decisions, but I declined that every single time without even knowing why, because I thought, this does not sound right. And then I researched, like, you know, I always think that's a good tip actually for mums. I always say, if you're unsure or you don't know why you're doing something, or it doesn't sit well with you, decline until you are sure. Just wait. Because there's so many things that are being presented to us that we must do. And then you're like, oh, I don't quite know, but I feel like pushed into this right now. So just wait, do your research, and then feel where that sits with you, and you might accept it. Fine. But at least you've done your own work, you know, and you know why you're accepting something. But yeah, the whole glucose thing sounds like it's just crazy, isn't it? It's setting people up to fail, because the body's not meant to respond to that level of glucose ever, really. Like, it would be seriously wrong if that was an everyday thing, wouldn't it? You
Yeah.
wouldn't be alive. But yeah, so I completely agree.
Yeah, I always say, what's your gut feeling saying? If it doesn't feel right, if it makes your heart sing, then it's the right thing. That's my parameters. I made big, bold, brave decisions, like about not having chemotherapy. I made that big, brave,
That's,
bold decision, but that was my gut that was telling me that. I didn't go off and read and research. I kept thinking to myself, I mean, obviously, Jasmine's 34 now. So I kept thinking to myself at the time, what research have they got to say this is okay and safe in pregnancy? How are they telling me that this? I'm looking at my mum being subjected to this awful regime of stuff that was going on, and they were expecting me to put. So I didn't go off and read anything about it. I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. It's absolutely grim. I'm not doing that. I've seen what it does to people. I'm not going to do that to my baby. I'll do it afterwards. That was my initial rebirth. I'll do it afterwards. And then I found a book called Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Own Life. And that was just a complete turning point for me because it made me realise that actually as a human being, we are so apt at, our bodies are constantly trying to get into homeostasis all the time. And when we have, when we're not in homeostasis and we're a bit misaligned, then we need to look at what the misalignment is to try and get that
as they
balance
say, the
readjusted.
dis-ease in our, like, what's the
Yeah.
dis-ease? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the disease. That's true.
And actually, it was really interesting because I then got a book called Messages from the Body. And when I delved deeper into that, it was really interesting, the sort of the emotional, deep psyche as to what was the cause and the underlying stuff that was causing the dis-ease in me. And once I then emotionally addressed that, I was like, hey, I'm normal, whatever that is.
Oh my gosh, that's, yeah. What you know, what a challenge that you went through, but also what a gift that you were presented with these scenarios at that time. Because how many people wouldn't have had that comparison that you had, you know? Because you were able to do that by looking at one scenario, going, "That's not what I want, and I don't want that for my baby and my body." And then it's sort of, again, like, you know, everything happens as it does, and sort of sends us down these pathways to explore and find ourselves and make those decisions. But
I was also very selective to who I told about where I was on my journey. So I didn't, if I thought that somebody was going to have an opinion that wasn't going to support or be in alignment with what I wanted to do, I just didn't mention anything to them, because the medical model, when I went to see, obviously when I went to oncology, my oncologist, I mean, she said, I can't believe you're making that choice and decision. Do you want to leave your children without a mother?
oh,
And I was like, to be fair, having looked at what's going on with my mum, the likelihood of them being left without a mother is pretty high either way. What I would like to do is actually enjoy them having a healthy life with or without me. Hopefully with me. But yeah, interesting. It is interesting. I do think we need to be selective on who we tell, our parents particularly, I think, in modern world, because they've only ever known the NHS now. We're working with a lot of women whose parents have only ever known the NHS and actually are completely sold down the river by it. And so then for them to step outside of that and go, I don't know if I'm going to do what the medical model's telling me to do. They get that their parents then go, oh, you've got to do what's right. You've got to do this. You've got to do that, because that's their belief system. And I think that with the best will in the world, parents almost want to be validated in the choices and decisions that they made. Well, I did it like that, and it did you no harm. That sort of thing. Do you know it? Because that validates what they did. And if you do the opposite, then they're going to doubt what they did was the right thing. And I get that. You really understand that sort of
that resistance.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So you had hypnobirthing for your 3 babies. What was your first birth like?
My first birth was quite interesting. I didn't, funnily enough, and this is the whole full circle. I absolutely, even though my work is private one-to-ones, I get such a buzz out of teaching big groups. So when I was teaching NCT, I'd be teaching groups of 8, 9. Loved it. Couples, not people. Absolutely loved it. Loved that sort of group vibe experience. I'd like run around, do activities, not at all shy. However, when I was pregnant and I didn't know what I was doing, back then I was extremely shy. So anything to do with group participation or sitting in a circle with people I didn't know, oh my gosh, no, not for me. Absolutely not for me. And I had people ask me, are you going to do an NCT course? I'm like, no bloody way. Like, there's no way I'm going to do that. So I did have a little spark in me. I used to do Polish dancing, and I belonged to this Polish folk song and dance group in London. And the woman who founded it, she came up to me when I was pregnant and said, Yvette, have you considered having a birth with no drugs or no pain relief? And I was like, no, I haven't really considered anything, to be honest, at that point. And she said, well, I was one of the first people to do NCT in Britain. And back then, she was like, it was called the Natural Childbirth Trust. And I did birth with no drugs. Yvette, if I can do it, you can do it. And that's planted a little seed. And I was like, okay, she can do it. Like, we're of the same, world. Maybe I could do this. And I really respected her as well. So I started to look into alternatives, but not too deeply. And then my husband came home from work and said, my colleague at work had a really, really difficult first birth, awful, had birth trauma. And then with the second birth, she went to a hypnobirthing practitioner and she did hypnobirthing, and it transformed the way she birthed and viewed birth and all of that. And I thought, yeah, okay, that sounds all right. And you can do it without pain relief. That's what I was thinking back then. I was like, okay, yeah. So this ticks that box for me. So we went along to this hypnotherapist's lounge, beautiful lounge that we'd sit in with this other couple. And we went through our classes and did our thing. I thought I was rubbish at it. I was the person in the room that had like one eye open, looking to see like, is everyone else doing this? And do I look like an idiot? And also, whenever we did these hypnosis things or these relaxations, I would get the giggles. I thought, well, this is not going to work for me because I'm crap at this. Like, I'm not going to do very well at all. And my husband was just like in this funny trance state. And I thought, I'm so far from that. I don't know what that is. I'm just not equipped for this. I did the practice and I listened to the MP3s that you have to listen to, or the CD back then. Did that over and over repetitively every single day. And then when it came to my birth, my waters had gone and we had the whole over 24 hours, you have to come in for monitoring. I didn't actually know my rights. I didn't know much about that. I was taught how to give birth, but I didn't really know the ins and outs of where birth can go a bit off-piste. We covered it a little bit, just didn't have enough knowledge, I guess. And I went in for some monitoring. Birth progressed, as it does. It ended up being mainly in the hospital. And it just ended up being medicalized, antibiotics, the thing. Obviously, bright lights, my labour stalled. And then we go to Synto. And so basically I had synthetic oxytocin cranked up to the max, apparently. And I had this amazing midwife. And you do remember the good ones, you really, really do. And she was so excited to support me. And I remember every time I had a surge, I would get up, or contraction, I would get up and my husband would come one side of me and the other midwife would come the other, and they would hold me. I had to be standing for these contractions. And I just smiled and breathed. And I smiled my way right the way through. And then her shift ended and I had this other one that was really the opposite. And she just sat in the corner taking notes. And my husband said, every time she has a contraction, she needs you to come and support her because they're pretty intense and you've got to be on the other side of her because I can't do two. And she's like, sorry, I don't do hand holding. I know. Also, she couldn't hear very well. So it was a bit of a comedy scene, really, every time I had a contraction and my husband was trying to ask for her help or anything. Anyway, I cut a whole long story short. I ended up on my back, lithotomy position, and feet in stirrups, legs in stirrups, and then the consultant coming in going, well, I'll give you 3 more pushes, and if this baby doesn't come out, then we're going into theatre. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not having this. And I ended up doing purple pushing, I think, for I say 1 to 2 hours. I say 2 hours, but I want to look at my birth notes, but it was an extended period of time. Ended up with all of my whites of my eyes were all bloodshot from pushing so hard. All the capillaries in my face were broken. So I had like all these broken capillaries. It was awful. I remember my husband at one point saying, is it okay that my wife has just turned purple? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. She's got to keep doing this. And it was that, you know, chin to chest, hold your breath, push, push, push that we were doing. Do you want to go in theatre? Or are we going to get this baby out like this? You know, it was like that. Yeah, so it wasn't fun. However, my story begins in the fact that the next day, or, you know, when I was in recovery after I'd had the baby, I had a room. Luckily, they gave me a room. I didn't have to go through the postnatal ward then. I felt rubbish. I was really disassociated from my baby, which I then later found out was due to having synthetic oxytocin. So I didn't really have any vibes there, which I was quite well aware of, but I felt just disassociated from life, to be fair. I felt awful. Midwife came and said, oh my God, Yvette, you did it. You had the most amazing birth. I thought, what? That was awful. And she was the midwife from the day before. She goes, I've never seen a woman smile through all of her surges or her contractions. No one really knew what hypnobirthing was. You know, it wasn't so mainstream. And I said, oh, well, you know, I'm not happy about the birth. Yeah, but I looked at the notes and it's like, you had a normal vaginal delivery. I'm like, if that was normal, what the hell? Like, what the hell? That was so far from normal. So I think it sparked something in me. My case was apparently so interesting because I didn't even touch gas and air. And they basically said that they thought that wasn't possible when you were fully cranked up on synthetic oxytocin. And it's normal, obviously, for a woman to have an epidural if she's having that kind of birth. So then they used me as a case study for hypnobirthing, and they asked me loads of questions. And I had basically a stream of midwives coming in to speak to me about my birth experience. Well, I thought it was all bonkers. I left that hospital feeling awful and quite broken, even though I had on paper a wonderful, you know, I had a good birth, but it didn't feel that way at all.
But childbirth and how you feel about it is the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I look like crap.
You look like Violet out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I didn't feel good and I had this disassociation. So then I think it sparked something in me to think, okay, so hypnobirthing can do that. And apparently that's not normal. And everyone has gas and air and everyone has epidurals. And I remember going for the hospital antenatal classes actually when I was pregnant with my first. And they said, so what pain relief are you going to have? And we had to sit in groups and we were looking at different types of pain relief. So what do people think they're going to have? What aligns with you? And then everyone's like, oh, gas and air, this, and the people are like saying things. And I put my hand up and I said, I don't want any, like, can you have it? Can you not have any? And they went, well, in theory, but that never happens. So again, all of these little tiny things that happened along my journey made me think, crap, like, you know, we can do this. We don't need to rely on other stuff. That is not the be all and end all of a good birth experience. I always say, like, I prepare women for hypnobirthing all the time. And I say, if you want maternal, you know, request cesarean birth, you can have that. If you want an epidural, you can have that. It doesn't mean you failed. It's just about knowing, like, doing what you feel is right in that moment. For me, it wasn't about not having pain relief. It's just I didn't need it. And the tools and techniques that I learned got me so far in that birth. And then every birth was pretty much, then I had 2 home births after that. I was like, I'm not going back into hospital after that experience. And then I had a very quick home birth. I found out about environment a bit more, made it like a bit better. Although still didn't work out according to, my pool was downstairs with all of my affirmations and the candles and the music. And I ended up birthing on the landing upstairs because I couldn't get my way back down. But
do you know what? I've had so many women that have bolted, you know, hit transition and bolted, and then they're halfway up the stairs. I mean, one woman, I had to have my hands through the banisters.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, just hang on 1 minute, just wait, just breathe, because I've got this head in my hand. Oh. And then when the baby came, I was like, take the baby, and then I ran round.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? Movement. And the stairs are great. Like, stairs are brilliant, to be fair. My third came as a result of stairs as well. He was a BBA, born before arrival, for anyone who doesn't know it. And I'd gone to the toilet But I went up the stairs, and I don't know why I went up the stairs, because I've got a downstairs loo. I didn't even think of it. And I was like, I've got to go upstairs. And I was scared that, like, I felt pressure down there, and I thought I'd done a poo, basically. And my doula was on her way. I was like, oh my God, this would be really embarrassing. I had leggings on. I was like, I need to sort myself out. There was no poo. It was my baby coming. And I went upstairs, and yeah, he came on the loo.
Yeah. Well, my last one was born on the toilet as well.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He was a big boy though. I kind of went over to the toilet thinking, oh, I just need to. I knew he was big, like my waters had went, and I went, oh my God, this baby's massive, and the colour drained out of everybody's face. Because my last baby was 10 pounds, so if I'm saying this one was big, I don't know what they thought was coming out of me.
My goodness.
But Marge, my friend, who's also a midwife, when I was laying on my side, my head on the bath and my feet on the wall, and she said this head came out and it started to emerge, and it carried on emerging and emerging and emerging, and she was like,
Whoa.
and then when the head came out, when he kind of restituted and he started, she was like, he was at the wall and his feet were still in my uterus. He weighed 11 pounds. But he wasn't fat. He was really long. Like all my kids none of them have been fat. They're just long babies. And that's why it annoys me when they go on about your baby's this and your baby's that, because long babies don't necessarily mean that they're fat babies.
And, you know, we generally speaking, we birth babies that are right for our bodies. Like we're, you know, generally speaking, we don't outgrow our vessel, unless obviously there's a underlying medical condition that might indicate otherwise. But generally speaking, again, like size is not the problem.
The position the baby is in, it makes the biggest difference to the process of birth. And our modern living creates more problems than it resolves, really, positional wise.
Oh my gosh, position, that is my thing.
That's
And
mine.
yeah, and it would be so much easier. It is so much easier when baby's in the right position, like full stop, and then you don't have to do all of the acrobatics to help reposition babies. But that can be so powerful as well. But yeah, I think a lot of the work can be done in pregnancy, can't it? And doing the work in pregnancy and preparing your body, you'll never regret it. You'll never regret it. And we still can't predict, but you know, it's only gonna benefit you. It's never gonna do any harm.
Well, childbirth's either really easy or you need some help.
Yeah.
And actually, the really easy bit just is really easy. It presents itself on this normal, each step that happens, the next step arrives. And if you get a stall in one of those steps, then usually you just need a bit of a realignment. It's usually the position. I always say to women, and I used to say this as a coordinator, people would go, how far dilated is she? And I go, it doesn't matter. I'm not interested. What position is that baby in? Tell me that first. Because that will give me a bigger indicator to how well we're doing than how far dilated she is. Because once that baby rotates into a really good position, birth will just go boom.
Yeah, but it's about whether the mum's got the patience, whether she's got enough in her at that point to do that. And sometimes, we just have to go, okay, leave it up to mum to decide whether she wants to do any more to help potentially change the position of the baby. But yeah, we can do so much, but it does require sometimes some real effort, doesn't it, to sort of get that going. And sometimes I believe also, I don't know what you think, Tess, but sometimes if the mum is holding on emotionally, if she's not allowing the process, because she's not consciously aware of, but from a subconscious level, there's still some resistance, either about the pathway forward, life with baby, anything. It could be anything, past. And sometimes that in itself can hold on. So we can do all the work, and sometimes just...
Yeah, I remember once had a young girl, and her boyfriend lived in London, and she called me and I went and we assessed her, and we used to do domino births where you'd assess them at home and then give them the choice and decision to say, do you want to stay here or do you want to go in? And she said, oh, I still want to go in. And I said, okay. And she went, I'm going to ring him. So I said, all right. So she rang him, and it was, let's go into hospital then. She was going, he's not going to get here in time. And I was with her at home and I was going, he's fine. If you want him here, he'll be here. Anyway, we left, we went to the hospital, and in this hospital, you got a lift up to the labour ward, And I remember him coming through the main entrance and me and her being in the lift, and she went, "He's here." And I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." By the time we'd got up to labour, the baby was out. He still missed it.
Oh, he still missed it. Oh no.
The door shut. We went up. When the doors opened, he was standing by the doors, and this baby, she's going, "I'm sorry. I said,
Oh no.
"You've done nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong." But yeah, the power of the mind is pretty awesome.
100%. And, and sometimes we just have to, like, the power of just giving a woman permission to let go,
Yeah.
Just that little nudge, that little reminder that it's okay and it's safe, you're safe. And as Nikita teaches, that when push comes to shove, a big part of it is a woman needs to feel safe, loved, and wise. And I really strongly believe that those three components, really do make for a better birth experience, to feel
Right.
that safety. And
Yeah. I think that's the same though when women are making love as well. We're asking women to go into a delivery suite or in a birthing room where people are going to be knocking on the door, coming in every 15 minutes, interrupting, have a listening, whatever they're doing. And we're expecting them to have an orgasm. They would not be able to do that if with their partner in that strange environment. And yet we're expecting women to do the same thing. And it's the same thing when in order for women to have orgasms. It's different for men, I think, because their makeup is slightly different, but for women to have orgasms we need to feel safe, loved and wise. We need to let go and surrender and trust the innate has got everything.
yeah,
And we constantly expected in this social arena now to go in, hand your sovereignty over to somebody else, put a gown on, lie flat on your back, have complete strangers come in and shove their fingers in your vagina. A lot of the time, they don't even introduce themselves. And they don't do that examination with any decency or respect. They're doing it as a process, as a procedure to get information. And yet we're still expecting these women then to find them in this crescendo of giving birth where they're feeling safe, loved and wise. It's ridiculous.
it's absolutely bonkers. And the first intervention is moving mum from home. That's the first intervention. And I'm not saying that every woman should birth at home. It isn't for everyone, because if a mum feels very unsafe at home, that's definitely not the right environment for her to give birth in. But we wouldn't move a cat giving birth to a litter in underneath a sofa or something. You wouldn't go, let's pick the cat up now, we know it's giving birth, or the puppies, the dog giving birth to puppies, whatever. You wouldn't pick that animal up and take it to the vets, would you? You trust that enough, but we've lost the trust in ourselves.
Interesting, your third birth, when you said you ran upstairs, that's because that would have been where you would have felt safer.
Yes.
I wonder, and I know this sounds a bit, and you don't have to answer the question, but I wonder if it's normal for you to go to that toilet to have a poo,
Yeah,
rather
for
than
sure.
the one downstairs. Do you know
For
what
sure.
I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
it
why a
is.
lot of women, that's why I said to you about that woman having a baby. I've done so many babies on stairways and hallways or little small spaces, and that's because it's the safest space for them to be in. And that's why they bolt at that point.
Yeah, it's 100% true. And that's also, like, physiologically, forget mentally, emotionally, and like intimacy wise, physiologically, we're used to opening up there. So we're used to letting go, opening up in that space. That's why toilets are so powerful, even
Yeah.
like just to use them during labor, to like get labor to progress. But I had a beautiful client. They just moved in, or they hadn't just moved in. They were renovating their whole home, as most people are doing when they're pregnant, aren't they? So they were renovating their home, and they had this incredible extension built with this beautiful open plan kitchen diner set up with, like, so modern, like a grand design. And she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking," she was planning a home birth, "I'm thinking of having my birth port in here, because, like, obviously it's quick access to the taps and like the food, and like I'm in the kitchen." And it was such a vast space. And I say, "How much time have you spent in this?" Because, well, it's not actually going to be ready like until close to when the baby's born. I said, "Do you feel safe in this space?" And she's like, "Well, I don't really know this space." I'm like, "Well, where do you feel the safest in your home? Where do you feel the most comfortable, most at ease?" She's like, "My bedroom." I'm like, should we think about giving birth in your bedroom? Like, is that a space that you would entertain? And that's where she had her set up in the end. But it's so, I think we think of the logistics of like the tiles on the floor, like easy to wipe up and everything, but actually we forget that it's primal. We need to feel safe and undisturbed, like the animals that find the little cubby holes and, you know.
Yeah, my fourth baby, interestingly, she was born in hospital. I was planning the home birth, but my husband, she was really overdue and he was on call and he said, I bet that's the night she comes. And I went, I bet it is. And of course, she went into labour and he was on call having to answer the phone. And there must have been something innate inside of me that he was really bugging me because he was answering this phone, like constantly answering it. And I was just, it really stopped me doing what I needed to do. And then I just went, right, I'm going in. And like everybody's looking at me going, what the fuck? What's up? There must be something seriously wrong if she wants to go in. And I thought, I knew that he wouldn't answer the phone in hospital or he would be able to hand over his on-call. She's in hospital. Part of that might have been the movement, and and all the rest of it. It was definitely that interference at home. Like at one point, I remember shouting at him, going, will you stop fucking answering that telephone? And I think that was the point where I thought, this is no good because he's just
This
not.
environment is wrong and he's not present. Yeah. My God.
So I left and then I got in there and it was like, there she is. Right, let's go home again.
And therein, like, that is the prime example of the environment has to be right. It's not like home birth or nothing, even though statistically home birth like stacks up beautifully, doesn't it? Like, we know that it's a very safe, incredible environment to give birth to a baby, and actually probably where we're designed to give birth in our home spaces. However, if something's not quite right about it, it doesn't mean that is the place that's the best for that particular mother or that scenario or that setup. Or if mum, doesn't feel safe in her own home for whatever other reason, it's definitely not the right place. So
I always think you should make your choice in labour anyway, because then you're not going to feel like you're failing. Because I do believe that a lot of women that I've met that planned a home birth and then didn't get it for whatever reason, whether it was a stalled labour or they couldn't provide anybody or whatever those reasons, they then have this massive element of failing associated around their birth. And it's like, no. So one of my mums recently, she was planning a home birth and she'd had quite a late phase and I'd been chatting with her. And then when she went into labour, and I think when her labour established, she had quite a heavy show. Now, heavy shows are a no-no according to the medical establishment now. It's a PV bleed. It's a fucking heavy show. Anyway, she rang triage before she rang me and they invited her in. So I met her at the hospital and it was... when I got to her, she was a bit like a dying, really, bless her, because she was in this strange environment. It wasn't what she wanted. She felt disempowered and managed to like re-empower and kind of get her stuff back. And I think though those teaspoons of fear that they'd fed her about, well, we don't know where the bleeding's coming from. They kept calling it a bleed and I kept going, it was a show. They kept saying bleed. I kept saying show.
The power of language cannot be
underrated. And then so in the end, she went, I don't think I'm going to make it home. So I said, well, okay, then what do you want? If you stay here, how do you want this birth to be? And she went, well, I don't want to be examined because I know if I'm examined, it would just lead to more intervention. I'm happy with the CTG. I don't want continuous monitoring. And I went, well, we'll get rid of all of that then, get your power back. So we did. And she did have a beautiful, physiological, lovely birth. And I did say to her, you don't get a badge for having a home birth. You do not get an accolade, okay? So don't feel that this is a failing. For me, it's a success because I think if she'd have gone home, she probably wouldn't have laboured because of all the fear that they'd fed her. And actually, they probably would have found a reason not to support her. Oh, we haven't got the staff, da-da-da-da-da. Do you know what I mean? And so... But actually, we were able to then make the environment a captive space for her.
And you can do that so beautifully. And again, like going back to what we were saying right at the beginning, that's why that additional birth support is crucial. Because if a birth partner who doesn't really know about physiology, doesn't know how the mind works and the emotional part of labour and how to make a woman feel safe or help her to feel safe, that's a lot of pressure to get an environment right. And you can do that beautifully in a hospital just with like lowering the lights, some candles, making it feel safe, intimate, so that she doesn't feel like she's out of control. but also the power of you giving her those options, and she made the decision. Like, she's at the center of her care, and that is beautiful. And she doesn't feel out of control. She's there. And I think that's it, isn't it? I always say, like, trauma, you can have a traumatic birth at home and still be, like, on paper brilliant. Yeah. But trauma is the difference between sort of your perception of reality of what's going to happen and feeling like out of control, and that disparity. So if you can help a woman to feel like safe, in control of herself, understand what's happening, and make those informed decisions, that, you can have a very medicalized birth, but a woman feel really empowered afterwards because she was at the center of her own care.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that's it, isn't it? At one point they did keep going, we don't know what to do. We don't know how well your baby is if we don't continuous monitor. We don't know this. So we went off to the loo, and I said to her, look, you're going to have to say to these people, thank you very much for all those wonderful care offerings that you are giving to me for your reassurance. But when I need the reassurance, I'll ask for them. At the moment, I'm happy with where I am. I'm an intelligent woman. And actually using, really informing them of your intelligence, that really floored them. And the other thing I noticed, which was really interesting, is, and I wasn't like this as a midwife. If a woman didn't want me to do anything, I didn't do anything. I never pushed it. If you don't want it, you don't want it. I hated listening in if I had to listen in, if they wanted it every 15 minutes. I'd offer it to them because that's what the guidance would say.
Yeah.
But I would also offer them saying, there's no evidence to suggest that listening in every 15 minutes actually is of any benefit.
Yeah.
But the guidance here is that, we're supposed to offer you every 15 minutes. How does that feel for you? What do you want? Do you want it every 15 minutes? Would you prefer it every half an hour? Do you want to just wait and ask me when you want me to listen in? A lot of midwives don't even offer that out as a standard verb to come out with. And they are so used to doing something every 15 minutes. When they then haven't got something to do every 15 minutes, they don't know what to do with themselves. But for me, it's be with the woman. Go and step in next to her and get her to drop her shoulders and to breathe. Encourage her partner to come in and hold that containment. Because if he's one side of her and you're the other side of her, and she's feeling that strength and containment from both of you, it just enamors her ability and strength to carry on. And if he then needs to nip out and go and get a drink, that's brilliant. He can go and do it. And if you then need to go and get a drink because you're giving so much of yourself, he's well apt and able to hold that space really well.
100%. Or, even differently, some women don't want to have anyone in their space, do they? So like having the confidence and the confidence to be outside of that space, just to be there and observe, or not so the mum feels observed, but just be there present, but not in that space if that's not what the mum needs in that moment. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? I think we so quickly go to like doing. It's that human doing, not human being. And midwives feel like they're not offering a service. Do you know what, actually? I felt like that sometimes at a birth before I had to catch myself. Like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to actually do anything. Just being a loving presence is enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to actively do. And I think that's beautiful that as a midwife, you have that background and the confidence to do less.
Because I think that drive my managers insane, I think.
I bet you did.
Oh, we locked horns quite a few times. I got called some interesting names, which was quite interesting. And they used to say, the roadmap of maternity has changed. And I said, well, you've got it on the wrong course. You need to go back and realign it onto women's course. It's women's journey. It doesn't belong to you. You can write whatever you want on the walls. It's bullshit.
Oh, well done, Tess. Yeah, that's absolutely right. I went to see Michelle O'Don speak once. It was a midwifery conference. And so it's a room full of midwives, and they released a few tickets for non-midwifery people, non-midwives. And I was really lucky to get a ticket onto this thing. And I was sitting there, a lecture theatre full of midwives. And he said, the best thing a midwife can do is learn to knit. And everyone's like, oh, and you can hear all the what's he talking about? was talking about. He's like, because it will stop you doing anything. It will keep you occupied. You sit in the corner. This is the best role that you can have, and the best presence that you can be is to sit in the corner of a room and knit, because you're not going to be tempted to do anything, because you're going to be distracted, and you are there in case that woman needs you. Otherwise, you sit and knit, and like you could feel the room, like, like, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, love this guy.
I would have, woohoo! That would have been me. I can remember once doing a birth, and it'd been handed over to me that they thought she was going to go to theatre. They didn't think she was doing it. And I kind of walked into this room, and I instantly recognised that he was like a cat on hot bricks. That they'd focused so much on her that they'd actually forgotten that he had this wild energy floating around. And so I just kind of said to the woman, I said, you just do you. You are doing amazing. And then I just went and sat next to him. And every time he went to kind of go, I just put my hand really gently on him and go, just listen to her. She'll tell us when she wants something. And he kept going. And his voice got quieter and quieter and quieter. It was really interesting because he was like up here and then he was come further down. And he said, don't we need to do anything? And I went, no, she'll tell us when she needs us to do something. And then at one point, it was just, we were in this space, this complete containment. She was in the pool, all the lights were down. You could hear all these little outside noises of like odd people chatting in the corridor and an ambulance going off and a car pulling it up, but in the distance. And I remember leaning in and saying to him, this is what it feels like to be your baby in uterus. And he just melted.
Oh,
He just went into this completely different space. And he was so calm after that. And then after a little while, she went, I'm going to have my baby now. And she just birthed this beautiful baby. It was so effortless. I thought, 4 hours ago, you lot were telling me we were going to theatre.
yeah. And that's it. The doulas are just as much for the birth partners, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's it. You know, it's supporting that whole oxytocin bubble and just keeping it flowing and so easily and so quickly that pattern and the flow can be, and that rhythm can be interrupted. Just anything can do that. So it's about bringing it back.
Well, when I was a midwife, I just used to say to people, don't knock on my door. If I want something, I'll come and get it. Don't ever knock on my door. Don't ever come and knock and ask me for a break. Don't just leave me in the room and I'll come out when I'm ready, usually with a placenta.
Love that.
Yeah. So it's just a shame, really, that we're kind of in this space where I do believe a lot more people are waking up, but I do wish that women recognise their inner power. I think we have been belittled and minimalised over the last few hundred years, and it's very hard to kind of reclaim some of that power back. But I wish women would just go, do you know what? I'm fucking awesome. I'm brilliant, I am. I can do this. I can do anything I want because I can produce a whole baby, a miracle of life, and a whole organ. And then I can carry on nurturing it even when it's outside of me. Like, it blows my head away after, I don't know how many years I've been doing this sort of stuff. It still blows my head away about how incredible the whole process is. And I'm still learning so much more and more and more all the time.
I know. And we'll never, I think, isn't obstetrics one of the parts of medicine that is the least known about? Like, we don't know so much. This is still a miracle. All of this is a natural, beautiful miracle that unfolds. And we've forgotten that. And like, I just love reminding women. And I really hope that more women start to just understand how bloody amazing their bodies are, how amazing they are, and how nature's doing all of that.
Well, we're kind of revered by the paternalistic control that's been around for a few centuries, isn't it? I always think within obstetrics now, they have to specialise. So you have an obstetrician who will specialise in diabetes, or specialise in preeclampsia, or specialise in pre-birth, or specialise in whatever. And my dad always used to say to me, a specialist is somebody who knows more and more about less and less until they know absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And yeah, and I think the quicker we understand that it's so nuanced, it's so individual, and that's the thing. That's why we can't compartmentalize it. We can't say pregnancy is this, labor is this. If we had it all figured out, like, you know, there'd be a millionaire somewhere. That it isn't. It's magical, and it's so nuanced, it's so individual, it's so specific to every single scenario, and we can't compartmentalize like this. And I think the quicker we all understand that and listen to women, they know themselves.
Yeah.
They know themselves. We just have to listen to them.
I love it when they ask you a question and answer it in the same message. Obviously, I've done a good job. I've really empowered them there because they've asked me a question and answered it and then put at the end, what do you think?
Oh, right, sure, yeah, exactly.
And then I always go, I think you're absolutely 100% right. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, yes, exactly, exactly. And then not looking to us as, and that stops them looking to us as like an expert as well.
Yeah.
And I've never had a clinical hat on. I haven't had the midwife hat or a doctor hat or anything like that. But still, you know, they still look to me as if like, oh, you're the one that's got the knowledge. Like, you know this stuff. So what should I do? No, no, no. It doesn't work that way, you know. And it's just about giving that power back to the woman so that she remembers not to outsource it. She knows herself better than anyone else. She always knows.
Just affirm their sort of thoughts and feelings, aren't they? But I always say I'm a big sounding board, sound
Yeah,
way.
yeah, that's
So,
it.
what's the next steps for you then? Where are you?
I don't know. I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. I think I would like to do more. I'd like to get out there a bit more in the public realm and sort of spread this, because I do a lot of private one-to-ones, and that's beautiful. I love it. And that's a choice. I used to teach hypnobirthing group classes, and there's so much magic in walking alongside a couple during their journey. And especially as a doula, that's the privilege that, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed to have. So more doulaing, definitely that's not falling by the wayside by any means. That's like, I'm encouraging more of that. And more, I know I'm biased a little bit, but I say I'm biased, but I'm not, because I've seen the grander scheme of things through general antenatal education. But I honestly believe that everyone should do hypnobirthing and that kind of thing. So again, a lot of that course and the way I teach it is very much about listening to yourself, your gut, your instinctive, intuitive birthing, and like reminding women of that. But I would like to do a bit more, maybe speaking or like online stuff where I can just remind women and spread that message a little bit more strongly and widely, I suppose. So women can access that, because I think we need to spread the good stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear, even in the birth world. Like, you know, because we're so passionate, we go, oh, this is wrong, you know. And there's a lot, you know, it's good to have that too, so that people are aware and can manage expectations, but also to spread the goodness, you know. So that's my thing. I want to spread a bit more love.
Yeah, that's me. I want to spread the love. The love word is my thing. One of my friends always says, you're such a heart person, Tess.
Good.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
It's a good thing. It is a good thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So one thing that's happened to me, which I've only just found out, is birth from within. I run support groups. I don't know if you know about what I do. So I run 5 support groups. I run Mum Space, which is just a group of mums, pregnant or postnatal. They come, we hold space, sit and have chats and do a bit of mindfulness, and just generally I'll sometimes bring in a theme, like when it was the easterly winds down here. Okay, what's been swept into your world this morning, and then we'll have a whole group discussion around things that are going on. Then there's Dad's Space, mental well-being in pregnancy and the postpartum, baby loss and birth trauma. And I do classes, and then the doulaing. But I've been awarded from the National Lottery some money so that I can carry on running my groups and hopefully get my very own space, because I was running them at the Devon Clinic, which is just something locally in Devon. But it means I can kind of create my own space now. So I'm really excited about moving that forward.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I'm hoping, what I'd really like to do, because I live in such a beautiful part of the world, is kind of get like some antenatal retreats going.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to do as well. I've always thought about it. I just not actioning it, but it's
Yeah,
such a lovely thing to do. Again, I'm so passionate about like honoring the journey.
yeah,
And like we focus so much on the end point, and the end point isn't the end point, it's the beginning, by the way, anyway, isn't it? Birth, it's
yeah.
the beginning, it's not the end. But we focus so much on that and we forget the journey and honoring that space and like that time in your life. It's so beautiful. So yeah, do that. Do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'd be hoping then that if I have this lovely space, that I'm then able to kind of hold like events and retreats and
Yeah.
things. So when I do event, we'll keep you in mind and come
Yeah.
down because it'd be good to drop in a bit. I don't do hypnobirthing in my sessions because I do breathing, but I don't
Yeah.
do the deep hypno. It's
Yeah.
something that I'd always looked at, but it was just nothing that I ever really got opportunities. I'm
Oh.
doing a hypno course, a hypnotherapy course,
Mm.
but that's more to deal with the trauma.
Yeah, I'd love to come and do a little bit like that again. Like just sharing that element is, I'm
Yeah.
so passionate about that. Oh, something I would like to share actually, Tess, if it's okay.
Yeah.
As we met through When Push Comes to Shove, Nikita, who runs or set up When Push Comes to Shove, she's got her last ever doula in-person training coming up in May. So if anybody watching this has got a little spark in them thinking, oh, I want to do that, I want to be a doula, or, you know, I want to hold that space for women, then she's got her last in-person training coming up, her last doula course. So that's going to be amazing. And she's an incredible teacher. And I will be helping her with some of that
Oh,
teaching as well.
wow.
So I'll be there too. And yeah, I'm sure I'll share some hypnobirthing magic as well.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. I mean, you really, really did enjoy that course, didn't you? It was something that just was like, yes, I've got to do this. And
Yeah, I think it's because I looked at so many, obviously, there's loads of doula courses out there. You can doula organizations, but I think what aligned was it's very much this sort of, I don't know, traditional midwifery. It touched on so many elements, but not just that. It's like the full mind, body, spirit, like the whole thing. Because if you're holding space for a woman, you need to be aligned as well. If you're coming in with your own trauma, your own fears, your angst, then that's spreading, that's palpable. And like you can feel that in that birth space. So it's about learning how to deal with your own stuff. And I think for me, the doula training basically was a journey for myself, exploration. And I learned
yeah,
so much about myself, which is never ending. Like it just started something beautiful for me, which I'm continuing, a lot of self-discovery. But yeah, it's something that, you know, I hold very dearly. And yeah, she's incredible because Nikita does so much around. It's not just this, it's not just birth, it's everything around it, which is so powerful. So yeah, massive advocate for that. If
is
you're
she moving to
interested,
do it online then instead of
i'm
doing?
not I'm not sure if actually this is going to be the end. Don't quote me on that. I think certainly like as a doula course or doula training stands, this might be the last one. So, but don't quote me fully on it. But certainly, if you are interested, it's happening in May. And go onto the When Push Comes to Shove website for more details on that one. But yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's the different courses for doulaing focus on different aspects, don't they? I know sort of like one of the sort of courses that I kind of looked at was more of the practical stuff. It was like having a mum coming into your sort of space, which
Yes,
is quite an interesting concept. For me,
and
I'm very much sort of your mind, body, and spirit, kind of the three elements of
yeah,
things.
me too. And again, you have to do something. You always like follow your gut and follow whatever aligns with you. But I think you'll say again, like Tess, you're brilliant on the group, and we've got an amazing like network WhatsApp group, haven't we? Where we're
Yeah,
sharing. There's so much wisdom in that group. I ask more questions than I give advice or give
I
any.
don't know.
But yeah, if I have, I've been up at like 2 in the morning with a couple or a mother, and I've got a question, or if a midwife has said something and I just want to double check, I just pop it on the group. There's always someone up. It's amazing. And the knowledge is incredible. And we talk about all sorts, don't we? Like homeopathy, about diet, about like all sorts, everything. It's like, yeah, it's amazing. It's
I'd
amazing.
love to have more knowledge about the homeopathy. I have to recognise that I can't be
Yes.
everything. Do you know what I mean? But when I listened to like Caroline and
Oh,
Jeanette going on about homeopathy, I was like, oh my God, they're like little oracles.
it is amazing. It is amazing. And yeah, I'd like to know more too. I've used it on my family and
Mm,
myself. And yeah, I'm a massive advocate because I've used it on little ones, like babies. And I always think that if you see the transformation in a baby, it's not psychological.
no,
They're
no,
not they're not going, oh, I've taken this pill and it's a placebo effect. Like it's
no.
actually worked. So that sold me when I started to use it on my little ones and
Yeah,
it worked. I thought, wow, this is powerful stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
it
I'd
is.
love to know a bit more about it.
Yeah.
But
I've started using essential oils, but more along the lines of like with massaging, like massaging babies and massaging mums. I do a little ritual with my couples for the last lunar month. So I've made the Native Americans used to honour the pregnancy for women by massaging their feet for the last lunar month of honour of them carrying the pregnancy. They never had women overdue, their labours were much shorter. There was a whole load of stuff in and around that. And there's the essential midwife who has come up with this cankle relief, like like women get quite swollen ankles towards the end of their pregnancy. So I use that oil for this ritual. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So I just sit with them when I come and do a session with them and I say, right, from 37 weeks, this is the honouring that you do every night. And then there's a lot of language involved in it as well as the touching. Some of the men look a little bit uncomfortable when I say, and you must speak to them and say, I honour that you're carrying my baby. Everything that you've done has been so, amazing. And you just have these conversations because a lot of couples are so modern world has disconnected us so much that we actually are quite disconnected at times. Just for 10 minutes, not asking for a great deal of time, but just for 10 minutes at the end of every night, just honour this pregnancy and the woman and the love hormones that come out. And they always report back that the baby really moves. And that's the baby communicating in respect of what's going on and saying, thank you, Dad. Look, your mum's sending out all this oxytocin. It's so beautiful being in here when you're doing that.
oh, what a beautiful practice. And I'm looking at it like on so many different layers, like levels, should I say? Because the feet, all the fascia, I tell women to roll a ball under their foot for like 2 minutes on 1 minute each foot and do a series of exercises every day. Because all that fascia on the bottom of the feet, it's all linked through our whole body and we're all connected. It's really amazing. I think we forget. Also, you're putting it on the feet and the feet absorb so well. So all those essential oils going through the foot and then the mind body connection as well and honoring that what's happening. Oh, how beautiful, Tess. I might have to speak to you about it and nick your
Well,
your
I'm happy to, because I supply the oils. So I'm happy if you want to give it a go. I can do a little session with you and then.
sounds fab. Yeah, I'd be well up for that. What a beautiful honoring.
Yeah. And then when I book women as well, I always give them a pack of my antenatal cards, my pregnancy
Yeah,
affirmation cards. So I
seen
give
that.
them a set of them. But actually, I sold my first pack to Australia the other day.
Ooh,
I'm like,
Australia.
oh my God. Yeah. So I was like, oh, right. I'm all around the world now.
There you go. International Tess. That's
Yeah.
it.
Slowly.
Spreading the good
Well,
vibes.
yeah. It's anything that brings a bit of positivity into an arena that can be quite heavy for a lot of women.
And it should be a celebration, and we've forgotten that. Like
Yeah.
an honoring, a celebration. It's like new life coming into the world, and
Yeah.
and way back when we would have celebrated all of this. There wouldn't
Yeah.
have been all this like fear, fear, fear. It would have been like, yeah, there's a baby coming to like increase our community. Our tribe is growing. It
Yeah.
was a celebration.
Indigenous populations that are still remaining, that's what they do. Like
Yeah,
because it is a community offering. The woman is honoured and for doing this magnificent journey of contributing to the ongoingness of our future.
absolutely. It's
Love it.
Yeah, I love it as well. And yeah, we just need to remember. We've forgotten and we need to remember, but that's what we're going to do, Tess. We're going to remind everyone.
We are indeed. We are. Well, it's been amazing. I told you the conversation would flow, didn't I?
Yes.
I mean, we could probably carry on talking for hours and hours, but we still have appointments, things to go and
Yeah.
commitments that we have.
Life goes on.
It does indeed. Well, it's amazing. Your website is fabulous, by the way. I forgot to feed that back to you because I
Oh,
had a
thank
look at
you.
it. It's really beautiful. Really like it. So yeah, anybody out there needing a doula in your area,
Yeah, West Sussex or hypnobirthing. I'm there.
yeah, and maybe at some point in a we'll have a little think about maybe how we could potentially do a retreat
Oh, I'd
because I
love
think
that.
that would be a really great thing.
100%
Yeah.
more than happy to do
Yeah,
that. That'd be
because
amazing.
you've
So yeah.
got women in around your way where it'd be like, let's go and do it here. You
Yeah,
treat yourself to this experience because I think it'll be phenomenal for them.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Tess.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an absolute delight. It's
Yeah.
lovely having this conversation and sharing and yeah, getting to know you a lot better. It's been brilliant. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tess. Keep doing what you're doing and keep
You
spreading
keep
the
doing,
word.
yeah, you keep doing what you're doing. The louder we sing, the happier the world will be.
Oh, one birth at a time, or many. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of love to you.